Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, I want to talk about a particular person and what we can see in her chart in terms of why was she married so many times? Why would she subject herself to getting married 7, and I don't even know if it wasn't 8 times. And of course, I'm talking about Elizabeth Taylor. She was incredibly beautiful in her day. I mean, she was an incredible actress, a raving beauty, but boy, did she have relationship issues. And I believe it was her second husband who actually died in an airplane crash. His name was Todd. And she said that he was the only one she ever loved. But you know what? Looking at her chart, here's what I actually believe now. I believe she was a romance and love addict, and I'll show you why. It's just when the newness and the freshness wears off, or there's not that excitement and love, they're going to not be so in love anymore, you know? And they just look for that excitement. Now, I could be wrong, but this is just my estimation by looking at her chart. So let's put Elizabeth Taylor's chart up and see what we can see. So up here, looking at Elizabeth Taylor's chart, you can see that probably the first thing we're going to want to look at is the 7th house. So of course she doesn't have any planets there, but look to now her ascendant, I didn't point that out, is Scorpio. Scorpio ascendants are passionate about everything they do. And it makes Mars even more powerful and more passionate. And her Mars is really strong by being in the 4th house. It makes her, have this strong desire and search for happiness, but it's always kind of disillusioned or not found when you have malefics in the 4th house, because the 4th house is the house of happiness. But let's focalize all of our energy looking to what the issue is around all of these marriages. And the first thing that I want to say we look at, where does the ruler of the 7th house go? Because even though there's no planets in a house, that means nothing. But the ruler, where it goes and how it's placed, tells the story. So looking at the ruler of her 7th house. Now, Taurus is on her in her 7th house. What rules Taurus? Venus. So Venus is the planet that should tell the story all about marriage and relationships. And going to her Venus, it goes to the 5th house. Now, Venus in the 5th house, let me just say this. There is a rule in Vedic astrology, and there's so many rules, but some of them, this one works. Let me just say it. I'll give you piece by piece some of the rules, and you'll remember them because they work so well. Venus, anytime you have a ruler of the 7th house in the 5th house, they say it's bad for marriage. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why? Because the 5th house is such a good house. It's a triconal, it's positive, it deals with creativity, with children, and it deals with Puva Punya, which is past life, good credit in this lifetime. It's one of the best houses. Why would the planet that rules marriage going to that house be bad? You know, the only way I can make sense of that, if we're supposed to make sense of it, all I know it is true. It is true. Now, I'm not saying if you have that it's terrible, but it just means there's difficulty. There's things to overcome when the ruler of the 7th's in the 5th. And I believe this because the 5th house deals with love and romance. It does. It deals with courtship. So therefore, if the planet that rules the 7th house goes to the 5th house, you may be in love with being in love. And when the newness wears off, so does the excitement. But that's not just the case, because notice her Venus. On a second level, it's exalted. It's in Pisces. That means it is all powerful. This exalted Venus going to what? The 5th house. And I want you to note something very specific. And that is that Venus is the exact degree that Uranus is. And what is Uranus? The planet of change, disruption, excitement. And sometimes it can even deal with accidents. She did lose a husband that died in a plane crash. But that Venus-Uranus, and on top of that, conjunct Rahu, is what intensifies this off the charts. So exalted Venus with Uranus, Rahu, there's the excitement. So I'm not saying that everyone that has the ruler of the 7th and the 5th is a love addict. No. But there's something about the being in love that they love. And there's probably nothing at all wrong with that, but there are things to be worked out. But Elizabeth Taylor not only has the ruler of the 7th and the 5th, but it's exalted conjunct Uranus Rahu. There you go. That's what really caused all of this extreme when it comes to marriage. So I want you to better understand charts in terms of seeing the 5th house, the 7th house, and even if there's no planets there, that doesn't mean anything. It means where does the ruler of that house go and what planets it's tied up with tell you everything about what that house is about. And also if you have planets that particularly aspect that house as well, because that will prove something relative to what that house is about as well. But additionally, one more thing, remember, always look from Chandra Lagna. That means making the moon the ascendant, right? So if we look to where her moon is, it's in Libra, and then we count 5 placements from where the moon is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look, what's in the 5th house from the moon? There's that Mars, Sun, and Mercury. And that's intense for love and romance and passion. But Mars is ruler of the 7th from the moon and in the 5th house from the moon. There you go. There's that pattern again of the 7th house ruler going to the 5th house and being obsessed with marriage, love, romance, relationships. She came here to work it out. But man, she tried many, many, many times. She was always probably searching for that idealism and that idealistic love, but wanted the excitement and to be in love. And that's how I see the marriage and why Elizabeth Taylor, according to her birth chart, was married so many times. So with that, I'd like to close. If you would like to learn more about Vedic astrology or learn about me, you can always go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org. And if you would like to learn Vedic astrology, take this to the next level with me. You can go to understand more by going to my university website, which is University of Vedic Astrology.com. And remember, I have a new starting class that's going to start up with the whole beginners, a whole group of beginners. We'll have our first webinar on January 14th of 2020. So with that, I'd like to close. Thank you.